Hebrews. This is Israel Wake Up. This is our Women Advanced Bible Study, February the 12th, 2026. Okay, we'll be reading out of book of Genesis. We'll be reading chapter 16, 17, and 18. We'll read each chapter and we'll break it down for our 3 chapters, okay, on this channel. You can go to our YouTube channel, the Israel Wake Up. It's the sister channel to Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 200 or so videos you can look at, examine. These videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, our hours of operation is every Thursday night. We have our Women's Advanced Bible Study here on this channel. Israel Wake Up is from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. So you feel the need to engage, you can come in through YouTube, or you can get our link and we can send you the link. That way you can get more and get more engaged with the conversation. Okay, this channel was created. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior, our Redeemer, and our Deliverer, the Lord of Hosts. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity and understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're gonna do our normal, just a moment of silence, a prayer, psalms. We have some women help with Michelle. Women help moment. Okay, you can go to our. Then we go to current events. Okay, and then we have some need to know information. We'll open it up for anybody with questions, any comments, dialogue, anybody with a testimony. Then we'll go into our topic for discussion, which is we'll be dealing with. I talked a couple of days ago about how Burkina Faso and Abraham Traore have sent a bunch of ships to the Caribbeans and to Jamaica to aid those people that had misfortunes pertaining to the hurricane that just recently hit. And it's a lot of drama around it, so we're gonna keep an eye on it. They're calling these ships the Black Star Line, which is the same name that Marcus Garvey gave to the ship that he had before they sabotaged. Okay, we'll get into that. And like I said, our scripture reading will be out of the book of Genesis. We'll be reading chapter 16, 17, and 18. We're going to read each chapter and we're going to break it down. Then we're going to pick a scripture. We're going to read that scripture. We're going to break it down. Then we'll close out. Okay. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts. And all that he's doing is bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we thank you for your great mercy and your great power and your wisdom. And we tarry waiting for your powerful deliverance of your people Israel. Okay. We come this day doubtless that you will appear, that you will gather your nation among these wicked Gentiles. Okay. Oh Lord, you said that you will remove the darkness from around us. Tarry not, O Lord, for the latter days are here, and we are waiting and watching for you. Peace be unto you. Okay. So we're going to read the Psalms right quick.
Shalom, everyone. I'll be reading Psalms 138. I will praise thee with my whole heart. Before the gods will I sing praise unto thee. I will worship toward thy holy temple and praise thy name for thy loving kindness and for thy truth. For thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name. In the day when I cried, thou answered me and strengthened me with strength in my soul. Verse 4, all the kings of the earth shall praise thee, O Lord, when they hear the words of thy mouth. Yea, they shall sing in the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. Thou, though the Lord be high, yet have he respect unto the lowly, but the proud he knoweth afar off. Though I walk in the midst of trouble, thou wilt revive me. Thou hast stretched forth thy hand against the wrath of my enemies, and thy right hand shall save me. The Lord will perfect that which concerneth me. Thy mercy, O Lord, endureth forever. Forsake not the works of thy own hands. That was Psalms 138. Shalom.
Okay. Got any feedback on that?
Well, I gather from this, David is just thanking the Lord for everything that he has done for him and how he has kept him, and that he doesn't want him to leave him, and that he wants him to continue the work that he started in him, and to keep him. Shalom.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So to me, this verse 8 sums it up, and it's a mindset. Like I said, thinking like a Hebrew. And so it says, David tells us that the Lord will perfect that which concerneth me. Thy mercy, O Lord, endure forever, or forsake not the works of thine own hands. So when you understand who he is, you got to know that he's going to perfect everything that has to do with you, concerning you as an Israelite, and you as a faithful follower of him, believing in him, and understanding that who he is. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, we're gonna go to our women's health moment with Michelle.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please note that the information provided on this channel is intended for general knowledge only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment for any medical conditions. Tonight's discussion is on magnesium. Magnesium is a vital micronutrient that you only need in small amounts, either from food or natural herbal supplements, acting as a cofactor in many bodily systems. Magnesium helps these processes function properly. Without it, your body wouldn't operate as it should. Unlike nutrients with a single main benefit, like vitamin C or calcium, magnesium plays a role in several different body systems to support your overall health. Magnesium is a key mineral found in many foods, working throughout our bodies to support health. We absorb it from various dietary sources, and it plays roles in several organs and systems, from muscle contractions and nerve function to energy production. Magnesium participates in numerous processes that are essential for our well being. Here are a few magnesium best known benefit. It helps support muscle function. It helps support healthy blood sugar level. It helps support digestion. Magnesium plays a role in the breakdown of food within the body, ensuring proper digestive function. For this reason, magnesium is included in certain products designed to address conditions such as heartburn and indigestion. Promotes heart health. It can aid with PMS. Magnesium can help reduce the intense symptoms of PMS, such as pain and cramping, by acting as a smooth muscle relaxant and easing cramps. Additionally, magnesium helps convert vitamin D into an active form for the body and helps the liver and kidneys metabolize it. So, magnesium deficiency reduces your body's ability to use vitamin D, which impacts your ability to absorb calcium. Symptoms of magnesium deficiency can vary depending on the severity. Some common signs and symptoms of mild to moderate deficient include fatigue, loss of appetite, vomiting, and weakness. Signs of symptoms of extreme magnesium deficiency include numbness, tingling, muscle cramps, seizures, and abnormal heart rhythm. The best way to get enough magnesium is through your diet. Here are some good sources of magnesium: green leafy vegetables such as spinach, nuts and seeds, whole grains, fish, and bananas. The bottom line is that magnesium is a powerhouse that helps with everything from muscle functions to mental health. Enjoying a variety of magnesium-rich foods may ensure you're getting enough of this nutrient in your diet. Spinach, almonds, peanut butter, and avocados are a few examples that make great additions to smoothies, snacks, and other dishes. I will be reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verses 13 through 15, a fountain of life. Verse 13, whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Verse 15, good understanding giveth favor, but the way of the transgressors is hard. Tonight's discussion was on magnesium, and I read from the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verses 13 through 15, a fountain of life. Shalom, everyone.
Okay, appreciate that information. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to our current events. Like I said, we'll play these current events, and then we'll tie them to the scriptures, tie them to the end time prophecy, like we normally do. Okay.
Is now on high alert. We have not seen the White House do what they just did since right after 9/11. That is how serious what took place earlier on this week. That's how serious we need to take this. Okay? And you're probably thinking, well, what happened earlier this week? Am I missing something? Here's the thing. We learned that the FAA shut down the airspace over El Paso. Okay, they shut it down. We have not seen airspace get shut down since after 9/11. That is a huge, huge issue. And now White House officials say every single American should be on high alert. And every single American in and around major cities near the U.S.-Mexico border should be on high alert as well. Look what happened earlier this week.
Okay, ground stop at 0630 for how long?
10 days.
So the airport's totally closed?
Chaos overnight after the FAA announced the sudden shutdown of the El Paso International Airport's airspace for 10 days, sending pilots and passengers reeling to figure out what was happening, but then a sudden reversal.
Yeah. So what happened is the FAA shut down the airspace, and then quickly after, before it even really shut down, then they reopened it. Why? Well, it's because there was a drone. Look at this stuff. It says cartel drone become flashpoint between U.S. and Mexico. I want to play a clip for you. Listen to this right here.
The FAA and Department of War acted swiftly to address a cartel drone incursion. The threat has been neutralized, and there is no danger to commercial travel in the region. The restrictions have been lifted, and normal flights are resuming. Curiously, though, when they first announced this, they said there would be a 10-day shutdown of that airport. It really was over almost before it began.
Well, Dana, that's a message sent to President Sheinbaum. President Trump said, sit on these cartels, we're going to do it for you. So I think that was a shot across the bow to Mexico. If you don't get your house in order, we're going to do it for you.
Now, keep one thing in mind. The United States cannot legally go into Mexico, and this is something that President Trump has threatened before, that we will go into Mexico and we will attack these cartels right there on Mexican soil. Well, guess what? We can't legally do this, not without Mexico's consent. So Claudia Sheinbaum, she has to say, yes, we are allowing the United States to come in and help us with our cartel problem. Or the United States can declare cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, which I believe we kind of have. And then on top of that, this is a big one, we claim self-defense. And this is under international law. So if the United States claims self-defense in order to prevent any future attacks, guess what? We can go into Mexico and we can attack these cartels right there on Mexican soil. This is why White House officials are saying we need to be on high alert. Okay, I want to keep playing something for you.
Dana, as you alluded to, the last time I saw a message like this, a notice to airmen using deadly force in airspace was on September 12th. This is bad. There was a great Tom Clancy movie, Clear and Present Danger, where the Ronald Reagan-like president said these cartels represent a clear and present danger to the United States. Dana, if you want to get a ton of fentanyl or coke across the border, you strap it on a drone and you fly it into our country. This is bad. We really need to wake up to the threat. This is technically an incursion of our airspace from an armed terrorist group. What's going to be our response?
That is one of the concerns, is how does the United States respond? But like I said, that we have seen the border pretty much become impassable. So cartels are having a difficult time getting drugs across the Mexican-U.S. border. As a result, they have to find alternative routes to get it into the U.S. Again, we're one of the biggest purchasers of these drugs. And so not only that, but how can they get this drug through the water into the United States? Again, another tall task. President Trump has been adamant that he is going to stop any drugs coming into the U.S., whether it's from Mexico or from another country. Okay, even from the Canadian, the U.S. Canada border, he's stopping drugs coming in from that border as well. So he's really trying to shut down the United States, and it's hurting a lot of these cartels. But the White House officials now believe that the American people are going to be under attack when these cartels cannot sell their drugs anywhere else. I want to keep playing this for you. Listen to this.
I'm just going to put up a map here that shows the FAA restrictions that lasted just for that short period of time. But going back to, as we look at that map, I just want to ask you about something. When Sean Duffy says the threat has been neutralized and there is no danger to commercial travel in the region, I know hopefully we'll get some more information or video. In your mind's eye, you can imagine what it looks like. But I'm curious about when you said it's a message to Sheinbaum, who is the president of Mexico. Do you think she doesn't have control over these cartels?
Absolutely not. She has zero control over any of these cartels, and they're embedded all the way up into the highest levels of her government. And these cartels kill American citizens with their product, and they physically kill American citizens. Dana, last year, do you remember when Ukraine snuck some 18-wheelers into Russia or built some like fake houses near air bases? Somebody pressed a button on their cell phone, the roofs opened up, and they took out 25% of that bomber fleet. If the cartels are starting to use drones, I don't want to scare people, but could you imagine a pickup truck full of 100 drones sitting on the approach corridor at Fort Lauderdale International Airport and flying those drones up into the flight path of an aircraft? Remember Sully and the Miracle on the Hudson? We've seen what birds can do to the intake of engines. What do you think drones can do? So this is big.
Okay. Anybody got any feedback on that? What you think? Okay.
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I think that it just has intensified. Like they've been doing that, but I think that it's getting really excessive because of what they're doing on the border. You know, with coming in across in the what you call those the 18-wheeler truck are either on water, right? They're getting, you know, more strict on that. So I think that the drones are just getting, you know, amped up here lately, but that's been happening where they've been using drones.
Well, yeah, it just the drone technology is getting more advanced.
Right.
Exactly. And like the guys said, they can't get their product over here, they're gonna find some kind of way, and if they don't, all hell gonna break loose. Because they ain't got nothing to lose.
Exactly. Because they not about to lose their, you know, connections here because of what Trump is doing. So they're gonna find a way to work around him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like you mean the guy said they killing Americans through the product, through the substance. So what's gonna stop them from killing us anyway? You're already killing us with the drugs. So it ain't like they respect Americans. They just want the money. But yeah. We got another one right here. Somebody else?
Yes, sir. Shalom. It kind of like plays into Trump's hands because he wants to go over there and try and kill him. So what they did say, if it's a threat to the U.S., then that gives them some leeway to go over there, and it may just play back into to Trump's hand if that is turns out to be that they did have the drones drop those drugs over for that little bit of time that they shut down and reopen. My thoughts. Shalom.
Exactly, exactly. Anybody else? Okay.
Breaking news has sent shockwaves through every major capital on earth. In a move that almost no one anticipated, Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traoré, has signed a staggering $17 billion grain deal with Russia, a decision already being described as one of the most audacious economic maneuvers of the decade. This is not a routine agreement, not a ceremonial handshake, not another headline that fades by tomorrow. This announcement landed like a geopolitical thunderclap. From Washington to Brussels, from Paris to Beijing, briefing rooms scrambled, diplomats demanded clarification. Analysts who once dismissed Traoré as symbolic were suddenly forced to recalculate, because this deal does more than secure grain. It signals a shift in who feeds whom, a shift in who dictates terms, a shift in how African nations may redefine power relationships in the 21st century. $17 billion is not just a number. It is leverage. It is infrastructure. It is sovereignty expressed through economic architecture. And in one decisive move, Traoré has positioned Burkina Faso at the center of a global conversation about food security, influence, and the future balance of power. The world did not see this coming, but now it cannot ignore it. To call this a trade agreement would be dangerously simplistic. This is not daughter. This is not merely about wheat, corn, or rice. It is about control over supply chains in a world increasingly defined by disruption. It is about who provides stability during crisis and who gains loyalty in return. For decades, Western nations dominated economic partnerships across Africa, shaping aid structures, financing development, and influencing governance through conditional assistance. This agreement challenges that model. If implemented as announced, the Russia-Burkina Faso partnership could reshape regional food security, reduce dependence on Western-backed institutions, and signal that alternatives exist. That possibility alone is what has unsettled policymakers. Because if one Sahel nation can negotiate at this scale outside traditional Western frameworks, others may follow. And if others follow, the geopolitical alignment that has defined Africa since the Cold War could begin to realign. This is why the reaction has been immediate and intense. This deal is not about grain alone. It is about redefining partnership. It is about sovereignty negotiated on different terms. And it is about whether the existing global order can withstand a challenge that comes not from tanks, but from food. At the center of this unfolding geopolitical shift stands a figure who defies simple classification. Ibrahim Traoré is 35 years old, one of the youngest heads of state in the world. He rose to power through a military coup in September 2022, promising something many in Burkina Faso felt had long been denied: genuine sovereignty. To his supporters, he is the Lion of the Sahel, a disciplined soldier who refuses to bend to foreign pressure. A leader who quotes Thomas Sankara and speaks openly about anti-imperialism, dignity, and African self-determination. To his critics, he is something else entirely: an authoritarian opportunist, a young officer navigating complex geopolitics with dangerous confidence. Born in a village outside Ouagadougou, Traoré joined the military at age 20 and quickly built a reputation for tactical intelligence and personal discipline. But material re-engineering of an entire agricultural system. The second pillar of the agreement addresses a more immediate pressure: affordability. Russia has committed to supplying 4 million tons of wheat, corn, and rice annually to Burkina Faso and neighboring countries. The most striking element is the pricing structure set at approximately 40% below current global market rates. In a region where food inflation has surged and household purchasing power has deteriorated rapidly, this provision is not theoretical economics. It is direct cost relief. According to projections cited by agricultural analysts, this single clause could reduce food expenses for as many as 70 million West Africans within 18 months. It's against terrorist groups and international recognition for Traoré's government. On paper, it appeared stronger financially and strategically. So why decline it? The answer does not lie in arithmetic. It lies in structure. The Western package, according to sources familiar with the negotiations, carried expectations, restoration of diplomatic ties with France, alignment within existing governance frameworks, and broader political normalization. For Traoré, who built his leadership narrative around breaking patterns of dependency, such conditions may have undermined the symbolism of sovereignty he has cultivated. He reportedly posed a simple question to advisors: which partner treats us as equals? The Russian offer, while smaller in total value, came framed as transactional partnership rather than supervised assistance. In that distinction, partnership versus patronage, Traoré appears to have made his choice. And in doing so, he reframed the deal as a statement of posture, not merely procurement. Beneath the economic details lies a philosophical dimension. For Traoré, the decision was presented as one of dignity. He did not want charity. He did not want lectures. He did not want external monitoring attached to domestic policy. He wanted recognition of Burkina Faso as a negotiating equal. A senior advisor reportedly summarized the internal deliberation in direct terms: which partner respects our right to chart our own course? In this framing, sovereignty outweighs surplus. The Russian proposal did not reference democracy conditions, sanctions mechanisms, or oversight structures, just as dramatically. Not everyone views this agreement as progress. Political analysts and human rights organizations have raised immediate concerns. Critics argue that Burkina Faso may be exchanging one form of dependence for another. Russia's engagement, they caution, is not altruistic. Moscow's interests are strategic, and strategic interests rarely operate without long-term leverage.
Okay. Any feedback on that? Anybody hear anything about that?
Shalom, everyone. No, sir, I haven't. But why would you think he's doing that?
Yeah, I'm leading up to that right in a minute. I was
Yes,
talking
sir.
about what I was
Okay,
saying.
because it was a shock.
Right, exactly.
Yes,
Then
sir.
you gotta understand that it's a $17 billion grain deal. So
Yes.
you know that's big. And then that's in Negro land. They call it the Sahel, but it's Negro land.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes me to Isaiah chapter 60. The beginning of, you can see the beginning of Isaiah chapter 60. Forces of the Gentiles being converted over to us. We're looking at it. Okay. So like he said, it's a $17 billion grain deal. And like I said a couple of days ago, Tory sent, so where you can say he resurrected. If you understand what happened with Marcus Garvey, how they sabotaged, they hoodwinked Marcus Garvey, okay, and then they ran him out of the United States, and he had occupied like I think 3 or 4 of those big ships, sort of like the ones on the Titanic, and he was going to use those ships to come here to America to offer the African Americans a free ride back to Africa, to build Africa up, and he's going to use them for supplies. He understood what was happening. The reason why we can look over there in Africa and see those little kids with all the big bellies and not eating was because they was controlling the merchandise and controlling the food and all that. So he's going to bypass that. So when he got the ships, they sabotaged him. They hired all kind of people, inside help, and they sabotaged those ships. They pulled sand down up in the engines and all that, and they foiled it. So 3 or 4 days ago, what didn't happen 3 or 4 days ago, we just found out about it. But for the longest, Tory has been working on that, and he got those ships. And we see right here this big grain deal. So he got a whole bunch of supplies, grain, and all that, and he got these ships going. Well, as of today, they made it to the Jamaica. And if you understand what just happened in Jamaica with the hurricane and the devastation that happened over there, so we took all this food and all this supplies, gold. These ships loaded with gold also, and the people that's over those different countries over in Jamaica, got a blockade up. They got a big blockade up. But the people know about the ships, and they all gathered at the coastline to get these supplies. But the governments of Jamaica and Caribbeans are withholding them because they siding with the Americans. So imagine that. So we're gonna check it out in a minute. But I just wanted to kind of got ahead of myself. Anybody else? Okay, here we go. This tied to what I was just saying about Isaiah chapter 60, right? Check this out. This tied to what Abraham Tory is doing.
No breaking news. Just a single line buried in a government report. 94 tons of gold. At first glance, it looked ordinary until you look closer, because nothing about it adds up. Burkina Faso has never seen gold figures move this fast. There was no gold rush, no mega mine opening, no flood of foreign investors. Yet in just 1 year, the numbers jumped by nearly 30 tons. No mining boom, no miracle discovery, no global price shock. So where did the gold come from? Who was producing it before it was officially counted? And why is it only appearing now? What changed inside the system to make this possible? To understand that, we have to look at how Burkina Faso's gold industry really worked for years. A quiet arrangement no one talked about.
So it's too many factors. You got gold, you got the Negro land, you got all this stuff going on right here. It's tied to scripture. Check it out.
The world bought the gold, the country dug it out, and the numbers were kept just low enough to seem believable. Let's break it down. Once a year, production reports arrived, complete with official seals and clean columns. But everyone in the system knew those numbers were just a portion of the tale. One of the most easily underreported resources in the world is gold. High-tech smuggling routes and underground tunnels are not necessary. Weak oversight, paper-based reporting, and officials who never verify what comes out of the mine with what is recorded in the books are all you need. In this way, a system can appear legitimate, but still be deficient. This silent leaking had become commonplace by 2024. The industrial mines made their wishes known. What traders could move, they did. Before anyone inquired about the origins of artisanal gold, it had gone through intermediaries. Only what it was permitted to see was used to pay the state's portion. Outside of the mining towns.
So when you understand what I just was talking about, we just saw that he made a deal, $17 billion grain deal. So that just didn't happen overnight. That has been in the works over a couple of years. So they had access to all this grain. Now we see all this, he got access to all this gold, right? So that's where it's coming from. And like that, when you understand all that, that's what all these warships are all about all of a sudden, what you see America doing. Okay, but anyway, any comments so far? We'll open it up for anybody with any questions, any comments. Okay, any dialogue or testimonies?
Shalom, I just want to say about what we just heard and what you explained. That's like opening a Pandora box now. With they say how the gold is rarely estimated the right amount when they say they find gold or discovered this. It's always more than what they say it is. And now that it's coming out like that, a lot of these countries are wanting to come over there and take that gold. And
Right.
Russia's jumping on it, headstrong, trying to, do a bait and switch per se, grain for gold. That, I can see a life for the to be fed, but just grain for gold, that's not even equal to what the gold can buy, the food for those that are there that are starving.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a grain for gold. What I'm showing you is that they got access by the $7 trillion deal they just made with, when you understand who Ukraine and Russia and all that, they have a big enormous grain thing going on, but it's been all it's been tampered with because of the war that's going on over there with Russia and Ukraine. But Ukraine and Russia just turned around, and whereas it had been some European countries getting that deal, Burkina Faso was getting it, and so that's a separate deal from the gold. All the gold was going to France, and Tory shut that off. Now Tory is getting Tory is manufacturing his own. He made gold refineries inside of Burkina Faso. They making their own gold. The French was coming in, taking the gold, and they was refining it over in France. That's no longer happening. And so what Tory is doing now that they finding out, they embarrassed. He was cooking the books because they monitor everything. They thinking they getting a certain amount of gold, but he getting way more than that. But he cooking the books. And then the thing about it too with the ships, they monitoring everything. They got everything. They monitor. If you remember a couple of years ago when they was talking about how they volunteered, those NATO countries and especially France volunteered to build an AU building for the African Union, and then come to find out the whole building was rigged and had all kind of spy equipment in it, the monitors and stuff. They was monitoring everything they was doing. So they've been watching everything, but some kind of way he purchased these ships, and they ain't know nothing about it. He purchased these ships. He got all this gold and did his grain deal. This came out of nowhere. They discombobulated, and not only that, he didn't go through none of the routes to get the paperwork, because you have to have paperwork and you got to have all these visas and things to move that kind of to move ships, container ships and that all that kind of stuff. He didn't get none of that from them. Next, all they did was they looked up all these ships was on their way to Jamaica. And so now, like he said, they're being thrown in the cross. You can see the Lord of hosts in this also, but all of a sudden they can't attack them because look what's going on with Gaza. The whole world got a problem with America and with Israel because of the treatment. They won't allow the people to get the stuff they need. They're allowing them to starve there. So Tory sending all these ships over there with the grain, gold, everything they need. So we gonna see if they're gonna sabotage them. Or they gonna blow them out the water. They can't destroy them. That's why they made it over to Jamaica, but they got walled and put these connexes up on the shoreline, and they won't receive the boats because of the people, the house Negroes that's running those countries. They didn't told them don't receive it, but the people all else know it's coming and they waiting on it. So now they're in a fix, and like I said, half of the world don't even know what's going on, but they're in a pickle. Either the people gonna go crazy if they don't let them get the food. They starving to death. So they're in a fix. And so, like I said, the biggest part behind all of this is you got to go back in history to Marcus Garvey, the ships with the Black Star Line. That's the reason why you got the Black Star that's on a Ghana flag. It was because of those ships. Okay, somebody got something?
No, sir. I was just going to say thank you for clarifying that, because it just appeared that it was like a bait and switch kind of thing.
No.
However, I see what you're saying now. Yes, sir.
Right. So I'm gonna play this here, and then we'll get back to where I'm trying to go to. right here. I'm gonna play this right quick.
Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillon for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast, family. Now, let me tell you something. How many of you all know that them folks and Black-looking people that work for them folks refuse to properly acknowledge the power of foundational Black Americans? Now, watch this.
It's Black History Month. We're highlighting foundational Black Americans whose ingenuity, innovations, and labor play a critical role in American culture and infrastructure, including Alexander Miles, who invented automatic elevator doors in 1887, and Garrett Morgan, who invented the 3-light traffic signal in 1923. And our next guest is working to ensure that foundational Black Americans' contributions are known.
Before the modern day toilet, the can, the pot, the throne, the john, whatever you call it, going to the bathroom used to be messy, uncomfortable, it smelled bad, and it also spread disease. All that began to change because the foundational Black American invented the modern indoor toilet, and his name was Thomas Elkin.
Thank goodness for Thomas Elkin. And that is just one of many videos made by author and creator of Foundational Black American Legacy, Teresa Allman.
I should say they don't give us the respect that's due, and they don't properly represent our voices, because they, in more ways than one, absolutely know our power. And they acknowledge it in one way or another by attacking us. How many of y'all remember 2019? Joy Reid, when she was on MSNBC, she specifically put up a chart about foundational Black.
So people don't really understand this part right here about what has happened to us. Like I was just saying, you finding out now he's sending those ships over there. These Negroes got put a wall up. they don't want the people to get the stuff. So the same thing right here. Notice these people she named.
America. She included us in it, and basically wanted us targets as enemies to the Democrats winning the upcoming elections. How many of y'all know that? How many of you all know that one of the other former hosts of MSNBC, Tiffany Cross, on one of her weekend shows, she had Roland Martin on her show, and she felt sad that day and started to call some of us in the Black grassroots out by name and told her audience, are y'all listening? Not to listen to us. She was fired just a few days later. She thought let me tell y'all something, after the system uses up Black-looking people, after you've done all the damage that they want you to do to us, or you find yourself to be useless, they getting ready to get rid of you. So once she specifically called out some of our names on MSNBC and told the world not to listen to us, 2019, Joy Reid specifically targeted foundational Black Americans, brought on a guest and had us on a chart. I want you all to think about that.
So this the wall right here. When you start looking at the Black news reporters, Black politicians, congressmen, the mega pastors, that's the wall. It's got us, we throwed off on it. Like I say, these are Negroes that at the first ones in the church house dealing with that fake idol.
I want you to think about that in the wake of everybody and their mama sitting here defending a fired Don Lemon from CNN. Yeah. Because of some protests that he was involved in with the white church, talking about now all of a sudden they saying that freedom of press is at stake. How in the hell are we talking about the freedom of press is at stake when those very people that I just named, directly or indirectly, and in the case of Joy and Tiffany Cross, all of which are fired from all those cable jobs, right. Every one of them. Don was working in his position for many, many years. Joy was there for years. I think Don was even there for working for CNN in one way or another for probably a decade, but certainly many years. Joy was with MSNBC for many years in different positions until she finally got that primetime position because she had a weekend show at first. Tiffany Cross, all of them are fired. What does that tell you about the authority of voices like mine? When we call out those individuals for years, and we're absolutely right about it, that they were misleading the masses.
Exactly. Exactly. All the way back to King.
Here's why your prostate problems keep coming back. And the easiest...
What Negroes don't understand.
In the wake of us sitting up here talking about freedom, press freedoms that's at stake with Don Lemon, and what Trump did was devilish. It was devilish. And he used Don Lemon, in my opinion, as a scapegoat to get the attention off of him and Epstein and all that other stuff, among other things. But how are we going to sit here? How is the Black community going to get up in arms over Don Lemon, who's fired from CNN and been gone from CNN? He got his own little platform now, trying to, I guess, make a comeback and get another job somewhere.
No, he's being used. Believe me.
Doesn't bother you that those voices attacked ours, work to silence some of ours, at least mine. Had everything to do with promoting policies, rules, and regulations to censor voices like ours. Because the numbers were showing that more of the public were listening and trusting, most importantly, alternative voices. So they actually treated us as rivals and came against us through action and through the things that they promoted and narratives that they pushed. And some kind of check. Two things can be true at the same time. But we're not going to back down in who we are. And of course, I do commentary for national and international. I'm a woman of the world as well. But I do not allow anybody to conflate the issues of financial Black Americans, and I certainly will not promote anybody disrespecting those of us who are responsible.
Okay. Anybody got any feedback on that? Any of that making any sense?
Shalom. It makes sense. You've talked about this for many of our classes, the boulets, and how, if you're not thinking like a Hebrew Israelite, you're not going to see all of this shenanigan going on behind the scenes. And now it's coming out now, and you can really tell. Smoke screens, whenever they want to get it off Trump, they materialize something big that the nation will just focus on and not on him. Shalom.
Exactly. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, one thing I heard on I don't know which class that you had with Brother AJ, is that the reality of what Don Lemon calls himself as far as relationships go. He believes in same-sex relationships. He's in one. I can't call it marriage because that's not what a marriage is, but a same-sex relationship. And what I've noticed once I, get my head out of the teachings that people would like us to learn, however you want to put that, is that there always tends to be a mixture of the Black community and the LGBTQIXYZ community, whatever those letters all they have for that community. And I remember when the Martin Luther King files were made public earlier last year in January.
Okay.
It was a shocking and astonishing to me. I did not read all of that stuff, but some of the stuff I skimmed through, it blatantly said that the different groups Martin Luther King worked with had agreed on, as they're marching for civil rights, to include the homosexual community, whatever the term was during that time. Because these letters and acronyms did not exist. That's what terminology was put in the FBI report as they were pretending to be people a part of these groups. And since that time, it has continued. And I have actual experience with that. I worked with a company that worked within school districts and parents that homeschooled. And it was one of those companies where it's like for Black people by Black people. The founder was Black. Everybody at the top was Black. I thought, oh, this be great. As whatever your profession is, as somebody Black in America, they wanted you to come and help teach these students. You did it remotely through the computer. Brother Leonard, you guys, I was all in. I'm teaching math. And right when we see people that look like us, we know we can do it, so on and so forth. So I'm all in. Like, hey, you can learn math and you can this, that, and the other. And I'm teaching these subjects. The children are all in. I sign up for a poetry thing. I sign up. In the poetry part, Brother Leonard, they have me bringing up I go through the curriculum before I teach it. I go through it, and I don't know who this artist is, this poetry artist is. I look this person up. I've never seen the picture. I've never seen the name. Couldn't tell you right now. The biggest thing I was pushing to these students I was teaching is that she was Black and gay. They wanted me to say that. And I said, you got to be kidding me. And I had to quit working. They paid good money. I had to quit working. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in pushing how strong and capable Black people are. And also remember, you can be gay if you want to be gay. And I'm just going back to Don Lemon, where really that's what I foresee with him. There's going to be people coming out. There's going to be people coming out, and it's not because he's Black. It's going to be for another reason, but they're going to make it look like all the rioting and the hoo-ha is because of all the Black people out on the streets. I could see that easily happening because they've been mixing in this group with us for years. And that's frustrating to me.
Right. That's not just that. That's what I was saying about what people don't understand about when you find all we hear is this country got tumbled or collapsed, or this country got collapsed. No, they got people that they pros at that. Those Edomites, they can come into a country and they do that. They came here with the women's lib. That's how we get what we got today with the women and with the guys. Look at all the news guys. They men, but they gay. If there's a Black man on the news doing a news report, he gay. And so all that was done. You go back to, and when you understand MK Ultra, it's a Black person, but it ain't a Black person. They didn't scramble their mind, their brain up, and so they projected it all. They knew our connection with unity and coming together. They took all that, synchronized it with Black liberation back in the 60s and 70s. Because if they wouldn't have done it, we was going to eventually overcome them people. They weren't going to be able to hold us back when you understand who we are. So they synchronized all that. And the very people they brought on the scene that we jumped behind, they was twisted up in the mind. They was gays and faggots and all that. They still doing it now. That's why I always, even look at the rap industry and the way that you come into that. It was all set up. It's like I said, you got to do your research on MK Ultra and all these different things that they're bringing up that we just shook off. They've been doing all that. So with that being said, I wanted to say thank God for the brother that made the modern day toilet. Ain't that something? We got to give him a round of applause, like the lady said.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I'm saying? Come on, and come to find out it's a brother that done it though. And so all these modern conveniences that they got it from us. And let's just let you know just how delusional these people are. They already know what we're capable of, but they reaping all these benefits. But we see that whole wall coming down because we see now that they with all the gold and all the resources we have in Africa, that's the only reason they propped up. And now that we're taking them back, we seeing them move for who they are. Because most Lord of hosts is taking all that stuff away. We're looking right at it, and it's happening right in front of our face. So, anybody else got anything on that? Any other comment?
Okay, Shalom, Brother Leonard. Shalom, excuse me, sir. I wanted to say, and you brought it up concerning the women's lib, right? They have truly done a number on us. And it is so hard to just pinpoint one certain thing or a certain avenue, right? Because they have totally done a number on us to separate us as a people. Because like you said, when we are together, we're very powerful, right? So all the things that the majority, shall I say, of the things that were put in place that made a way for us a better life was done by Black people. But back in the day, they bought it from them for a little bit of nothing.
Right.
to make it seem like they were the ones that came up with the idea. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
And right, Black History Month, you really run across a lot of articles and you be like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Oh, we
So
invented
yeah,
that. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So they claim that all these records have been destroyed or lost or burned in a fire or whatever, but it's not. The information is out there showing exactly how smart and talented and creative we are.
Exactly. And like I said, what has happened is we have no resources. They already know we the innovators and all that. So anytime someone will out, they got the resources to make it happen. We conjured up in our minds, but they got the resources to make it, to expound on it. Just like the man made the toilet. He ain't reap no benefits from it, they did. And rap.
Right.
Look how rap started. Now look what they've done to it. They had the resources to make it happen. And then they always, what people don't understand, they always got Negroes over there that's not Negroes. Negroes, they look like you, and that's where you getting brainwashed at. That's where they're coming in, thinking like a Hebrew coming in at. And so look at all the years I was talking about with the guy over Motown. And all the thing, all the money that was made off of that. He was just a middleman. They had him in there, getting him peanuts. But we looking at it and we agreeing and making deals with him because we looking and saying he black. But now we know he's way bigger than that. Look at the lie of JC. What it done. It's all over the place. It's all coming out now. When you see what's happening with France and how Africa took back all their resources and how it collapsed, it's the same thing gonna happen with JC. That's what these people know. Then we in the last days of that. They sitting there thinking that you lost your mind, but it's hammer time. He's a fictitious character they concocted. Simple as that. So anyway, we're gonna get to this Black Star line. And like this right here, nobody knows this. They ain't in the news. They got Don Lemon and all these nut buckets in the news, but they don't have this in there. Okay, check it out.
Kingston, Jamaica, is usually a line of empty blue, or a lane for cruise ships carrying tourists who do not care about the island's pain. But today, the horizon is dark with a different kind of silhouette. The Black Star fleet has arrived, and it has brought with it a tension so thick you can taste it.
This goes back to Marcus Garvey and all these ships that crossed the Atlantic Ocean. They then docked in Jamaica. We don't know shit about it. Come on.
It in the salt air for the last 48 hours. The world has watched a slow motion collision between two eras. On one side stands the massive machinery of the Western Empire.
Exactly.
The United States Navy, destroyers, the Coast Guard cutters, and the Jamaican police force armored and ready, acting as the shield bearers for the giant. This is Goliath, huge, imposing, armed with the most advanced.
The Jamaican police force is with them. Like I told you, they got a blockade of it. This is how throwed off Negroes is.
Weapons in human history, and convinced of his own invincibility on the other side. Bobbing in the waves are the merchant vessels of the Alliance. Of Sahel states flying the flag of Burkina Faso, and the banner of Marcus Garvey compared to the aircraft carriers of the West. They look small, they look vulnerable. They look like a shepherd boy standing before a warrior giant. But Captain Ibrahim Traoré did not send these ships to fight a naval battle. He knows that you do not fight Goliath with a sword, because Goliath has a bigger sword. He knows that you do not fight Goliath with a spear, because Goliath has a longer spear. Traoré has read his Bible, and he knows that to defeat the giant, you need a stone. Just one smooth stone slung with precision at the center of the giant's forehead. Today, we are going to look inside the hull of that lead ship
and discover exactly what that stone is.
Here we go.
Because the stone has arrived, and Goliath is already starting to wobble. The port of Kingston is currently in a state of siege. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has ordered the gates locked. He has placed barricades of
this Negro locked the gates.
Shipping containers across the entrance, and he has deployed the riot squad to keep the people back. He is terrified, not of the ships themselves, but of what they carry. He knows that if that cargo touches Jamaican soil, his reign is over. He is acting exactly like King Saul, afraid of the rising, anointed one afraid of the prophecy. He is trying to block the arrival of the Davidic promise with concrete and steel. The people of Jamaica are not blind. They have gathered in the thousands, pressing against the fences, singing songs of redemption and chanting the name of the new David.
Come on.
They understand the symbolism playing out before their eyes. They know that the Black Star Line was the dream of their fathers.
Ain't gonna be long.
And now it is the reality of their sons. The standoff is not just political, it is spiritual. It is the final confrontation between the system of Babylon, which relies on force and debt, and the system of Zion, which relies on truth and resources. So what is the stone inside the ship the Western media is trying to tell you? It is just grain, they are trying to tell you. It is just fuel, but Traoré has loaded something far more dangerous into those containers. The stone is gold, tangible, physical audited gold, from the mines of Burkina Faso,
the gold
Mali,
I just told
and
you
Niger.
about.
Why is this a stone that kills Goliath? Because Goliath's power comes from the dollar. Goliath's power comes from the ability to print money out of thin air and force the world to use it by bringing physical gold to the Caribbean. Traoré is introducing a rival gravity. He is saying, here is real money. Here is money that does not rot. Here is money that does not require you to bow down to the IMF.
Like I said, Don Lemon, Roland Martin, Al Sharpton, ain't none of these Negroes telling you about this. Come on.
This gold is intended to back the new trade currency between the Caribbean and Africa, destroying the monopoly of the US dollar in the region.
Mega pastors.
When the stone hits the forehead of the giant, it destroys the illusion of the giant's wealth. It exposes the fact that the emperor has no clothes and the banker has no gold. The second aspect of the stone is the grain itself, but it is not just food, it is sovereignty. For decades, Jamaica has been forced to buy food from the West at inflated prices, keeping the population in a state of food insecurity.
That's because we ain't have no ships. We got to rely on them to bring it. Just like at Walmart and Targets, they bringing all the supplies in. That's what Marcus Garvey had peaked out a long time ago. That's why he disappeared. But lo and behold,
Goliath uses hunger as a weapon. Goliath says, if you do not obey me, I will starve you. Traoré's ship is carrying enough grain to feed the island for months at a price that is virtually free compared to the market. This destroys the leverage of the giant.
Ain't that what David did? Joseph?
If people are not hungry,
same thing
they
Joseph
cannot be
did.
controlled. If the people are not desperate, they cannot be bought. The grain is the stone that knocks out the giant's ability to coerce the population. It turns the people from beggars into choosers, and a man who can choose is a man who is free. The atmosphere at the port is electric. The US ambassador is reportedly on the phone with Holness, screaming. Demands to turn the ships around, threatening sanctions, threatening blockade, but Holness is paralyzed. He looks at the US Navy ships offshore, and he sees their guns, but then he looks at the crowd on the dock, and he sees their eyes. He realizes that he is standing between a rock and a hard place, between the stone of David and the sword of Goliath.
So they can't use no weapons. They do, that's it. They already through, but they use weapons right here, it's over.
The people are pointing at the Black Star flag and shouting, Let them in. They are waving their Bibles open to thee. Book of Samuel, reading the verses where the Philistine giant falls, they are identifying Traoré as the spirit of David, returned to finish the job that was started in the hills of Judea thousands of years ago. This theological layer is what makes the situation uncontrollable. You can disperse a protest with tear gas, but you cannot disperse a prophecy with tear gas. The more wholeness resists, the more he looks like the villain in the story. The more he tries to protect the giant, the more he exposes himself as a traitor to his own kin. Traoré's strategy is a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. He knew that he could not sail a battleship into Kingston Harbor that would have given the Americans an excuse to fire. But by sailing a merchant ship, a ship of peace, a ship of mercy, he has disarmed them. He has walked onto the battlefield without armor, just like
he said, now they looking like a fool. You never would have figured, brother, they would come up with the black folks. Like I just said, the brother is a brother that created toilet. So this shouldn't be surprising. But they got us thinking that we're not capable of this.
Well, David, he has refused the armor of Saul, the conventional weapons of statecraft, and has come only with his staff and his sling. If the U.S. Navy sinks a ship full of gold and grain,
come on,
they become global pariahs.
Exactly.
They become the monsters of history.
Exactly.
They let it in, they lose their economic grip. It is a checkmate move delivered with the calm confidence of a man who knows that God is on his side. The stone is already in the sling, and the arm is already swinging.
If you are sleeping in a position like this, you are...
The David archetype. Why do the people call him David? It is not just a name. It is a recognition of character. David was a shepherd before he was a king. Traoré was a captain in the field, eating dust with his men before he was a president. David was rejected by the elites of his time. Traoré is rejected by the UN and ECOWAS. David united the tribes of Israel. Traoré is uniting the tribes of the Sahel and the diaspora. David fought battles that everyone said were impossible. Traoré expelled the French army when everyone said it was suicide. The parallels are too strong to ignore for the Rastafari community, who have long awaited the fall of Babylon. This is the sign they have been praying for. They see the Black Star Fleet not as a foreign intervention, but as a family reunion. They see the stone not as a weapon of war, but as the cornerstone of a new temple inside the captain's quarters of the lead ship. There is reportedly a letter written by Traoré, addressed to the people of Jamaica. It does not ask for permission to dock it, announces the arrival of a new age. It states simply, the debt is paid, the gold is here, the food is yours, this is the stone hitting the giant's head. The giant relies on the lie that we are poor. The giant relies on the lie that we need him. Traoré is proving that we are rich and we need each other. When that truth lands, it will cause a shockwave that will topple governments.
Exactly.
Andrew Holness knows that if that gold is offloaded and placed in a central bank in Kingston, the Jamaican dollar will stabilize the inflation, will stop, and the people will credit Traoré. Not him, Holness, will be reduced to a footnote, a manager who tried to stop the owner from entering the building. The U.S. Navy commanders are watching this unfold on their screens, and they are confused. Their simulation models did not account for this. They prepared for missiles.
And this is one of the things that I talk about, but I don't think a lot of people is registered. When you understand about the Lord of Hosts and the prophecies that he made, he says, I'm going to perform and watch over them. Well, they overtake you. No matter whatever happened in the world, and lied and told you, and you believe it or whatever, the prophecy going to overtake you. When it do, you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. Like the guy just said, he go, all people in the army on the side of the beast, getting a paycheck from him, and prophecy overtaking it. They looking at it. but they're on the wrong side of the fence. You don't want to be there.
They prepared for cyber attacks. They did not prepare for a ship full of sorghum and gold bars led by a man who quotes Thomas Sankara and Marcus Garvey. They are witnessing the power of moral authority over military. Show authority Goliath had a helmet of brass and a coat of mail weighing 5,000 shekels, but he fell because he underestimated the spirit of his opponent. The West has aircraft carriers costing billions of dollars, but they are losing the Caribbean because they underestimated the hunger for dignity. They thought they could buy loyalty with loans, but Traoré is buying loyalty with truth as the sun sets over Kingston. The standoff continues, but the momentum has shifted. The police officers on the barricades are lowering their shields. Many of them are hungry too. Many of them have families who cannot afford bread. They are looking at the ships and wondering why their prime minister is blocking their dinner. They are looking at the Black Star and feeling a stirring in their blood that is older than the badge they wear. There are reports of police, units refusing orders to disperse the crowd. There are reports of dock workers cutting the locks on the gates. The giant...
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on it. So this video right here is the Black Star Rise. Tory brings a stone that killed Goliath. So you want to watch that. But like I say, that's ain't nothing no bigger in the news than that. But they ain't not talking about it, but we're going to keep an eye on it. Any feedback?
Shalom. Yes, sir. Earlier when we first started the video, and then I said, why did he do that? And you say, well, you get into it. And I clearly see, now the way they, portrayed that with David and Goliath, and he had to do that. And that deal he made with Russia, I just want to say this too. That Russia, wants to get back with get something from the West too. So they sold it under the market price so that they could have that, and that would show the West they don't need, Africa doesn't need the West, so that was a play from Russia as well.
Exactly. It's all they chopping in the gold. Reason why there's so much gold in there is gonna break the dollar. They don't want to deal with the dollar no more. So, and if there ain't nowhere, you mean, what's bigger than this? And you talk about ships too. You got all these Hebrew Israelites. They say they waiting on ships, and you got ships and they came across the Atlantic Ocean and parked in Jamaica, and you ain't nobody. They don't know nothing about it. Come on.
Yes, sir. And like you said, we're not hearing this on, over here. And this is the biggest story yet to come, because this is history in the making and it is prophecy, but nobody's airing this.
Exactly.
Shalom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When they were speaking on the goal, it reminded me of Massa Musa, how they wanted to stop him because he was helping everyone else with that goal. So it wasn't a problem. So I think that was one of the things he took out of the Massa Musa playbook, is to present them with something that that money can't, that the paper dollar bill cannot overpower.
Right. Right. So the thing about it is, well, like I was saying, especially if you got your head screwed on straight with your understanding that you got JC out of your mind. So this when you see this right here, it reflects back to a whole bunch of things that when I go back to Joseph, we go back to when Cyrus came out. That's how you can tell, that it's got something to do with the Lord of hosts because of the effect that it's had. But you got to be in a certain place to even understand it. It's crazy. Oh yeah. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Shalom. The talk about the gold that Burkina Faso has, I was, in my reading and research, found out at the end of the year 2025, they were producing from 64 tons the year before to 90 tons, which is about a 56 to 60% increase than what they were producing. And of course, nobody was keeping their eye on them to really know how much they could produce until now, because at first, like you said, Brother Leonard, they were giving it all to France, and they're keeping it all now.
Right.
And so most people are focused on, before this time that we're in now, just looking at gold reserves. But gold reserves are, gold that you got from Africa, and kept in your
Right.
country. And nobody
Exactly.
has paid attention to what's in Africa and how much more there still really is. So much so that the beginning of this month, President Trump administration basically said, amidst all this bullying they're doing with Iran and Venezuela, that they're no longer having a priority about democracy. That's not their biggest priority, and they're wanting to and willing to, and I mean basically they're kissing butt for Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, because apparently people need to be able to run their government how they want to conveniently. These three countries can do what they want. We just want to be partner with them economically, conveniently. But Iran, Venezuela, everybody else needs to listen to us. No, it's not
Right.
conveniently. It's because they have the money. They have all this gold.
It
So
is.
that was just,
It's been flipped. Everything been flipped. It's flipping, and they see it, and they can't do nothing about it.
mhm.
That's
And
what's
yes,
happening.
sir. And I wanted to say, just with the things being made, one thing that surprised me when I really started reading for myself, some time ago, I mentioned cleanliness. I would hear people older than me when I was a child speak of uh, cleanliness is close to godliness.
Right.
And how shocked I was and how really disgusted I was that in my lifetime is when hospitals started really pushing hand washing. I did not know that was not a big thing until recently, that people used to really be sick right next to somebody. A surgeon would go in and go to the next patient without even washing his hands, putting on a different pair of gloves, nothing. But when
Exactly.
we look in the scripture, we were told to do that before we ever knew why. If you're sick, you're not amongst the rest of the congregation. You
Exactly.
come back, the priest will decide if you're sick, but the rest of us don't need to be around you. And I know Sister Michelle's talked about this before about rushing to the hospital, but rushing to the hospital is rushing amongst other sick people. Unless your arm got chopped off in a car accident, I mean, really, scripture tells us when you're sick, separate yourself. There's no reason to make everybody else sick. And it's overwhelming to know how much laws, rules, and customs we had in the Israelite community that we had well before America and European countries, but they come off to teach us in school that all of everybody was barbaric except the Europeans and those who came to America from Europe. But I mean, they were performing surgeries without even cleaning their hands before they went to the next patient. But we are the barbaric and dirty people.
Exactly. Right. And we brought just like what the guy just invented the toilet. We the one brought cleanliness to them, the Moors, and all. We the one brought it to them. But like I said, they so delusional that they won't acknowledge that. Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom, everyone. Yes, sir. So, as we're speaking on that part, as far as going into Europe, showing them that they don't live with their animals in the same home, and in Africa, they had universities, they had schools, and so they made it seem like Africa, when we were growing up, was all big belly children, starving, flies everywhere, huts, living people in the bush. But to come to find out, they were the ones, um, because the Hebrew Israelites was on the four corners of the world, and they were some there that were educating everyone. And here, when we came to The slaves came, well, they brought them over as slaves, and then they had to go back to what was instilled in them, their DNA. Can't live like this, can't eat like this, can't be like this. We got to make it better. And again, hands all up to the gentleman who made the indoor toilet.
Okay. Yes. So with that being said, nobody else have anything else? We're gonna go to we're gonna go and read our three chapters out of the book of Genesis. Okay. We're gonna read chapter 16. Anidra.
Shalom, yes, sir. Genesis chapter 16. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, Behold, now the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence comest thou? And whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man, his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well is called Bir Lahai Roi, I think. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. That was Genesis chapter 16.
Okay, yeah. So it's another one of those examples where you can see it's the angel. It's not the Lord. It's the angel. We see in verse 7 says the angel of the Lord found her. Not Yahweh, not Jesus, but the angel of the Lord found her and found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain of the way of Shur, right? Then you get on down and notice what it says right here, 12. The angel, it's the angel she talking to. 11. The angel of the Lord says, so she's dealing with this angel. Behold, thou art with child. So you say, what are you talking about? This is what the angel told Eve. It's two seeds in your stomach. You're gonna bear two kids, right? So it says right here, and the angel, 11, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord have heard thy afflictions, and he will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and she shall dwell in the presence of all, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And here you go. Now check this out. 13. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her as an angel. See that? She called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, thou God that seeth me. And she said, I have also here looked after him that seeth me. So it ain't no Yahweh. It's not, they ain't dealing with Yahweh. That's why I'm bedazzled. Bedazzled at the people when you show them this. Okay? Yeah. So I'll shine a light on that. So we go to 17. You want to read that, Joyce?
Yes, sir. However, I'm keeping this little baby, and if it gets loud, just let me know.
Okay.
Genesis 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee, and I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Verse 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God unto thee and to thee seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abram, Thou shalt keep thee my covenant, therefore thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised, and ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it should be a token of the covenant between me and thee and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you. Every man child in your house are bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai, my wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto God, and that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he begot, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the self same day, as God had said unto him. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the self same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house born in the house and bought with money of the stranger were circumcised with him. That was Genesis chapter 17.
Okay. Any feedback?
Um, just the story that we read a lot of times, and then you get something different from it. How Abraham and Sarah didn't believe that they would have this son and be, she would bear a child at that age, and God told her that the Lord of hosts told her that she would, and and she did, and then they wanted to know, you know, who would get what or whatever, but he had said he made his covenant with Isaac, but he would still make Ishmael some prince. His children will be princes, I guess kings.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Shalom.
Yeah. Okay. Got anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to shine light. I was listening to a conversation a couple of days ago about a seed. Well, a seed is a son. So we know this right here. Abraham asked the Lord, and back in 15, for he don't have no seed, right? And then we see right here it says in 21, uh, says, "But my covenant, the Lord of hosts, right, will establish a covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at a set time the next year." And he left off talking with him, and God went up. See that? God went up. So let's show you right here. God went up as an angel. Like God went up to Abraham, went up from Abraham, and Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and all that were brought with his money among the men of Abraham's house, circumcised the flesh of their foreskin, uh, self same day, and God had said unto him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his skin. Ishmael's son was 13 years old, and when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Then it says, in the self same day was Abraham circumcised, Ishmael was his son, and all the men of his household was born in the house. Right? So we see right here what a seed is. Isaac was the seed, which is a male. And then it also says right here, uh, and all the men of his house, born in his house and bought with money, strangers were circumcised within. Okay? Can't circumcise a woman. Okay, any
Yes, sir.
comments? Okay, you want to read 18, Brittany?
Yes, sir. Brother Leonard, I wanted to say in this chapter about circumcision, it was eye-opening to me to know that there are groups of Arabs and Muslims that actually circumcise their sons at 13 years old, keeping with what Ishmael did.
Right.
And that was very eye-opening to me. Again, we know we're scattered, but when you look at how, man, Abraham's other son by another woman for all this time, people have not skipped a beat with doing what they are supposed to be doing, quote unquote,
Right.
and that we have people that don't know that that is a part of our culture to be circumcised 8 days later, not the day
Exactly.
of, not whenever the hospital tells you to. But
Exactly.
it was very eye-opening to me to just see how lost in the sauce we are, so to say,
Right.
when we see other people have stuck to their culture for so long. Mm.
Right. Right. And like I said, with that, when you have the proper information, there's so many things that come to light. And like, for instance, we know, and they tell us that at 12 years old, JC was teaching in the temple, right?
Yes, sir.
So what number do the Lord of hosts deal with? 12 or 13?
12.
Okay. So where does 13 come from? So you say, what are you talking about? So you go to the story. I tell people about it. I don't know if they even researched it, but Caesarion. And they tell you when Augustus came, he had to kill Caesarion because he was the rightful heir because he was the rightful heir from Julius Caesar. So it says that Cleopatra sent him away up into a monastery up in the mountains at 13. So that's a lie. So they throw that. You think that something is simple, but that's big because you're not really understanding what they're doing. They're throwing you off from how the creator operate. So no, he wasn't 13, he was 12. Just like right here, when the two boys, Cain and Abel, came to make an offering. They were 12. And you say, what you talking about? Well, look at what happens to a person, a male anyway. You get 12, then he become a teenager. Not he become a teenager and then he get circumcised. No, he 12, then he get circumcised. Or that happens. And then it's just like with the spring, summer, winter, and fall. You're not gonna see no damn flowers growing in the middle of winter. That ain't how it works. It's a time. You got a time set for it. It's when the frost and the cold and all that leave, then you start seeing the fall coming in. You start seeing the ground start giving up its strength to the plants and herbs. Same way with that. 12, if something happens at 12 when you get to, then you go into a teenage. And so that's they throw us off with the small things like that we don't even pay no attention to. It's just like with 40 years old. Abraham was 40. He left Egypt at 40. He came back at 80. Then Ishmael married those he was 40 years old when he went and married those women from Mount Seir. 40 years old when the 40 days, 40 nights, the Most High, that's how he operated. So they would put other stuff in there to throw you off, and if you understand those things, you can see where they're trying to ruin you at. You think it's nothing, but it's big. Okay, you gonna read
Yes,
that?
sir. Just something.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Chapter 18.
Yes, sir. Genesis 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and he bowed himself toward the ground. And he said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the trees. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts, after that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the earth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, and were stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being also old? And the Lord said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence, and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? And the Lord said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for the lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again, and said, peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, O let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, O let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham. And Abraham returned unto his place. And that is chapter 18 in Genesis. Shalom.
Okay, got any feedback on that?
Yes, sir, I do. Just how it's very clear that in the beginning of the chapter that Abraham can see who he's speaking to. And I say that because being brought up in the church, I was under the impression that nobody could see anything.
Exactly.
And you know what? Even in the church, this was read. This isn't a new chapter to me, but it's still I'm left with the impression that you're just praying to thin air and that's it. That's all there's ever been until JC popped up. That's really the impression I was left with. But it's very clear that Abraham knew who he was talking to. Later on in the chapter, it says that he went to see them off. How you would when you're telling your guests bye as they go to the car, right? You cannot
Exactly.
see off something you can't see.
Exactly.
And that's very clear in this chapter that he knew who he was talking to. And when the two that look like man left, it blatantly says in this chapter that he was left with the Lord. So he stood talking to the Lord face to face. And that the Lord of hosts himself, we know, they can change into things. So these are them in their human representation, and Abraham knew who he was talking to. It surprises me in the beginning that he's not surprised. But when you read, other books, you know that he's had contact with the Lord of hosts before Genesis 18. So he's not surprised.
They didn't change the narrative. That's what I'm saying. That's what people are not understanding. That's what 18 years come in at from you going to school and seminary and all that, was they didn't change the narrative. But what a joke come in at is chapter 18. In my book, the study Bible, it says 3 angels visited Abraham, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's just 3 angels.
3 angels visiting, but check this out. This is what a joke come in at. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men. But it tells you it's 3 angels. So it's just 3 angels. And like you said, they appear as men, but it's 3 angels there. Not Yahweh. Yahweh ain't there. And so, like we was talking about yesterday, you asked the question about Samuel being a judge. Well, 25. That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with he talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, righteous with the judge, with the wicked, and the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee, shall not the judge of the whole earth. So one of these angels, the judge of the whole earth. And like I said, he chose Levites and the priests and the prophets to help him judge. That's why Samuel a judge. That's what people don't understand it. But anyway, so like I said, if you go all the way, start all the way back in 15, Genesis 15, you can see Yahweh ain't there. His angels all through that. So they're not dealing with Yahweh. They're dealing with angels. These angels. One of these angels is in charge. That's why you see 2 of them went to Sodom. And then you find out who the Lord is in verse 22. And the men turned their faces from thence. We just saw these 3 angels and they men, right? And the men turned their faces from thence and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stayed with the Lord. There's 3 angels there. 2 of them went to Sodom. Abraham stayed before the Lord. He's looking at him. We know that because of verse 8. And he took butter and milk and calves which he had dressed and set it before them. All 3 of them, angels. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Now here go the dagger. So you say when they concocted JC, right? And you go to John chapter 8, when he said these Edomites is asking them in Jerusalem, where you before Abraham was, JC told him before Abraham was, it was me. And then so this the skillful writer that did this, scribe. Okay, so he said, before Abraham was, it was me. Abraham rejoiced in the day that he met me. So you say, what are you talking about? Here you go, right here. This is what typology, they plugged him in. Now I'm gonna read it. It says, in verse 2, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, these angels, 3 angels, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself to the ground. Then he said, my Lord, if now I found favor in thy sight, it's 3 men. He's talking to one of them. If I found favor in thy sight, turn not away. I pray thee from thy servant. So why are you doing this? And how we know? We just read in 17. You just told him you're going to have a son, ain't Isaac? He was just talking to him. In verse 12, chapter 12. He was just talking to the Lord. And so right here, when he saw him, when he about to make the tents of Mamre, he looked and saw 3 angels, but he knew one of them, he knew the one. And then so to unpack all this who Abraham's friend is. Not Yahweh. Come on. He the one that's dealing with Abraham. This is who Abraham's friend is. So then we're gonna show you what they done. So remember with Mary and all them, when he came, Mary washing his feet, right? And all this. Look at this. Let a little water. This is what Abraham said in verse 4. Let a little water, I pray thee, be fetched and wash your feet and rest yourself on the tree. So see how they, with typology, now they making it happen, make it look like it's him. It's JC, but we see it's obvious an angel. So this the whole purpose they got Mary washing his feet. Okay? And so, like I said, you say you're a Hebrew Israelite and you looking for the truth, and we in the last days, the Spirit of the Most High been poured out, and this get broke down to you, and you can't deal with that? Shit, there's something wrong. You looking right at it. It's all being broke down right here. This is what they did. It's obvious that it ain't no, he ain't no Lord of hosts. It's an angel right here. And like I said, you start reading, it started at 12. The Lord of hosts, the Lord came to Abraham and told him, get thee from thy kindred. That's how he know who this is right here. When the 3 angels came, he knew the difference in the Lord and the other 2. He knew it because he dealing with him. That's his friend. They didn't develop a conversation from talking face to face. He developed a relationship with him. Because look what he say in verse 19. Then we'll go ahead and pick a scripture. Verse 19. For this is what the Lord said. I know him. See that? This is what Abraham's friend is. I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, my ways. I know Abraham, you're my friend. He's gonna command them to keep my ways, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham, see that which he has spoken of him. Right there, that ain't JC, it ain't Yahweh. Yahweh can't even talk to him. He'll burn him up. So we see right here, just looking at this. Say, no, this ain't none of Jesus.
Yes, sir.
Gotta write him in the story, but it ain't none of him. Okay?
Brother Leonard, verse 19 that you just read out
Right.
loud, that plus verse 12 just was, to me, spoke to me together. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? And this part right here, my Lord being old also. Just verse 19 and 12 showing that who leads the household is the father, the father of the children, which is also the husband of the wife, and that's the leader of the house. So her Lord, that even like that verse that my Lord said unto my Lord, her Lord is Abraham. That's who's over her. And then verse 19, that the Lord of hosts knows that Abraham will lead his household, his children and his wife. And those things stick out to me because even now, I know friends, I have family members where it just is what it is. We grew up with church mothers. I've never heard of a church father, for the church, where it's just females leading the entire church outside of whoever the pastor is. But it's just females leading everybody. And that's you can see that that's not us. That's not what Israelites are supposed to be doing.
Exactly. And that all goes back to what I said, what they projected. They projected, we doing that because they projected it to us. Like I said, they ain't no Jesus is old, he ain't even in the story. And another thing we see right there in 19 and in 12, the two lords there. So which lord which one you want to deal with, and which one is you which one is you dealing with? Which one Abraham dealing with, and which one you dealing with? So when you hear somebody say, you know, I'm gonna wait on the Lord. No, you ain't waiting on the Lord. You got a Lord. And your Lord got a Lord. Come on. And like I said, it seems like it's simple, but it's big, it's major. Oh yeah. Okay, somebody want to pick a scripture and then we'll break it down. Somebody got a scripture?
Shalom, brother.
Yeah.
I'll read Ecclesiastes chapter 3.
Genesis 50 when
Okay.
Joseph's father Abraham dies. I'm
Your thing messed it up. Go ahead, Michelle.
Excuse me, shalom, sir. Earlier you were speaking about there's a time for everything. So I was going to read Ecclesiastes chapter 3.
Go ahead.
Verses 1 through 8, sir, if I could, please. A season for everything. Verse 1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Verse 3, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Verse 6, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. Verse 8, and a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. That was Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8.
Okay. You have any feedback on that?
I do, sir. We have to understand that this is what you call a divine order, whether it's good or bad, it's gonna happen for all events, so we have to know, like it say, a season for everything.
Right, exactly. Right. It's, the thing about it with Sean, in reference to the class, you notice when he told Abraham he's gonna have a son and call him Isaac, he laughed. And then when he told Sarah she's gonna have a son, in her old age, she laughed. So when you say
Yes,
it's the
sir.
time to laugh, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what that is stuck in my head.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So yeah. So with that being said, if anybody else got anything before we go? Anybody want to shine light on something? Okay.
Shalom. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just going to say in Genesis 50, where we were talking about how the Lord hosts works in the 12s and the 40s, in verse 50, when Abraham dies and Joseph goes to bury him, he says in verse 3, and 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days, when um when Joseph went to bury his father Abraham.
Okay. Jacob is. Let me see how they go. Jacob is Joseph's father.
I'm sorry, I'm saying Joseph. I see
Okay.
it's Jacob. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see everybody Saturday morning for our Shabbat class we probably won't have a men's line tomorrow. I got some urgent stuff I got to do. So I'll see everybody on Saturday morning at 10 p.m., 10 a.m. Central Time. Shalom.
Shalom,
Shalom.
everyone.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.